I listened to all 8 Counting Crows studio albums, and I saw them perform in a live concert. I'll be starting with my album rankings, ending with what I thought of their new album, Butter Miracle, The Complete Suites. At the end, I'll give my full concert review of what I thought of the show, so if you want to see that part, feel free to skip there. Timestamps in the description. Just a disclaimer, I know way less about the Counting Crows than I do Bob Dylan. Dylan I've been crazy about for years, so when I did that tier list, I was properly invested. Not saying I'm not invested here, but all these albums besides the first one, I didn't really discover until I binged them for the show. I basically knew all the hits and nothing else, meaning all this music has had less time to sink in. I still feel I understand each album enough to rank and talk about them though, so I'll just be going with some brief overviews on what I felt while listening to each album. No live albums or compilations, just studio albums. If you disagree with me, that's okay. That's just my opinion, of course. Everyone's musical preference is different. Beginning, of course, with August and Everything After from 1993. August and Everything After, I think, is heralded as one of the best albums of the 90s, at least in this sort of genre, which I'd say is alternative rock, 90s rock. Is that a thing? Now, I can't for sure say that because I haven't listened to all the albums in the 1990s, of course, but everyone knows Round Here and Mr. Jones. They play those songs on the radio like everywhere, but there's a lot more to appreciate here. Pretty much all the songs feel fragile and personal, touching with a tinge of despair, longing, and whatnot. I'm going to be talking a lot about Adam Duritz in this video. Who's the singer. I hope I'm saying his name right, but his voice just fits this material so well, it's like insane. Even slower songs like Sullivan Street or Raining in Baltimore are really, really good. I think his voice is a major reason that it just carries. It feels bittersweet and hopeful at the same time. The reason, according to my research, not because I lived it, why August and Everything After connected so well with the generation of the 90s, is that it felt vulnerable and allowed a safe space for dissatisfied people to feel vulnerable again. And I think it's got uplifting moments too, like Rain King, which is just really catchy, and moments like A Giant Rebirth, Beautiful Ballad, like the closing track, Murder of One, kind of like a crow pun, Murder of One, and the poetry just stands out. Perfect Blue Buildings, the song, is pretty depressing. There's a skeleton in every man's house. Beneath the dust and love and sweat that hangs in everyone, there's a dead man trying to get out, so please help me stay awake, I'm falling. And there's another song, Time and Time Again. These are just forgotten gems, even in the middle of the sandwich in the middle of the album. You know, I wanted so badly someone other than me staring back at me. However, it's not like the consistent sadness of August and Everything After kind of bogs down the album, because instead it just feels intimate and personal. It's like a roller coaster, you know. Even the cover image is mysterious. It's like a yellow sand handwriting on it. It's got the letter writing on there, like it's a diary entry or a love letter. And it's just mysterious, you know, like whose is that? Who is he writing to? Omaha, the song, is great too. This album is just chock full of amazing song after amazing song. There are absolutely no low points in terms of quality or pace. This album's gone multi-platinum in several countries. This is S tier for sure. It's a classic album, and if you haven't listened to it, then you're definitely missing out. Recovering the Satellites from 1996 is definitely a thematic departure from the debut, August and Everything After, but it's not like a negative departure. It's just like a different style. It's departure that not everyone's going to vibe with this, because it's not as focused on catchy songs, although many of them still are catchy. It's more about the lyrics, I feel like. It's darker, grittier, and I think that has to do with the makeup of the band. The first album was fresh, you know, whereas that was when they rose to fame, you know, to stardom, and then they toured around the world for 2 years, which is a big step up if you've never done that before. It almost seems weary and tired in this album. There's definitely some themes of identity loss, most definitely depression. Have You Seen Me Lately is a great song depicting this. I'm Not Sleeping is one of the songs I discovered when listening to this album, and it's so good. I just love the way it kind of builds to a crescendo with almost like strings in the background kind of arrangement. Then it's followed by Goodnight Elizabeth, which Adam Duritz played live in front of me, and I'm pretty sure like 80% of the crowd didn't know that song. It was for sure not a crowd pleaser. It didn't really matter though, because it's actually an amazing composition. It's kind of like a gut punch of emotion. The song I knew from this album before I listened to this album was, of course, the single A Long December. Probably the line, all at once you look across a crowded room to see the way that light attaches to a girl, is probably one of my favorite descriptions of falling in love that I've heard. The song is just so dreary, but somehow catchy too. The guitar in Children in Bloom is like another singer. Basically, Recovering the Satellites, I would say, does have some slower parts in it, especially in the second part of the album, kind of like Miller's Angels and stuff like that. But in context, slower doesn't really mean bad to me. The emotional, vulnerable feeling from the first album kind of like transfers over here, but now it's become fully fleshed out and is more something like disconnection, dysregulation, and depression. It's almost wounded in a way with the same poetic punch that August has, but instead it's just hurt here and less innocent. Does that mean it's mature? What is maturing? That's the question that I feel from this. Like, at what point do we become mature? To me, this will only get better and better upon subsequent re-listens. I feel like it's not as accessible as with the catchy rock songs that make you feel something like August does, but it's definitely a matter of preference. I'm going to put it behind the first album in S tier because I'm more familiar with August and everything after, where this is no doubt more of a complex creature than I was prepared to review. Satellites almost feels more intense, especially if you just let it sit with you. I will say I prefer the lighter, cheerier album over the darker, heavier album, despite it being more complex. I say it's still an S tier though, although the order of these two might change within time if I keep listening to this band, which I definitely will. Now we come to 1998's This Desert Life. Now I thought I was going to like hang around the track, which is the most famous song from this album, I believe. The best. I was like, yes, that's a great song, but I actually enjoyed some of the other tracks better. Like Mrs. Potter's Lullaby, which is a nearly 8-minute stream of consciousness sprawling adventure through fame and fortune. It's extremely good. It's a second track. Like, how did I not know this existed before? The drum line with the guitars that just covers the entire track it's really fun and superb to me. It's just joyously buoyant. Well, I woke up in mid-afternoon because that's when it all hurts the most. A dream I never know everyone at the party. Yeah, I'm always the host. Like, what a better way to describe disillusion and loneliness. I kind of said that badly. But anyways, another line from that song that I like is, all the blue light reflections that color my mind when I sleep and the lovesick rejections that accompany the company I keep. Like, ow. It's just sad, you know? But he does it on like it's kind of like a stream of consciousness thing. I like the aesthetic of the album, but it seems like less, how do I put this, like structurally consistent in theme, or maybe it's just that theme itself is more laid back, kind of like everyday life activities, rather than impossible speculations about like the cosmos or something. The next quote that I'm going to read is from Wikipedia, guys. Don't attack me. I didn't read any peer-reviewed article databases about the Counting Crows, but producer David Lowery said, commercially it's been very successful for the Counting Crows to be very introspective and sort of sad in their music. So on this record, I thought we'd get at least a little bit of the humor and reverence to come through. This makes a sense to me, at least, as there's some humor in this album and some more happy, buoyant moments, although many like Colorblind or Speedway still seem to be relatively depressing and maybe a bit slow. But as you can see what I mean when I say there's a personal evolution to the albums, as if we're maturing, growing, and learning along with the Ritz. We can just hear that in the music, you know? St. Robinson is Cadillac Dream towards the end of the album. It's another one of my favorites. It seems to be about wasted opportunities or maybe possibilities that come together, almost to be destiny. There's a hole in the ceiling down through which I fell. There's a girl in the basement coming out of her shell. That's a good line I read. Basically, This Desert Life, I would say, is not as good as the first two albums. It would definitely live in A tier for me, but it's definitely not a bad album. I enjoy it, and I appreciate how much it shows the band's continuing evolution of how they see the world. Hard Candy from 2002 is not a bad album. I just think it's a little misunderstood. It's like a transition from a long, drawn-out emotional ballad to a radio-friendly songs. We've got a Sheryl Crow collaboration, etc. Already a change of vibe because of that. Even the album cover makes them seem packaged and distributed like candy. 13 new fresh flavors, it says. From my understanding, it's more of a pop album. That's what I read about it, at least. But I wouldn't really call that exactly upon listening to it. It's more of a pop rock, I think. It's decently definitely happy. It's got some catchy songs, but I found myself forgetting this album shortly after I listened to it. It's not that the songs are bad, it's just that they seem condensed and maybe too crisp. Now, I appreciate that they had to mix it up. I mean, you can only sing about loneliness and depression for so long. In the 90s, we're all about that for the Crows. Yet, at the same time, its smoothness is an interesting contrast to what came before, and I'm not sure that I was fully into it. That being said, it's not bad. I was into a lot of the songs. If I Could Give All My Love, or Richard Manuel Is Dead, is a tribute song to my understanding of Richard Manuel of Bob Dylan's The Band. It's pretty song that chronicles Adam Duritz reading in the paper of Manuel's death in 2002. I think it was then, probably around that time. That's when he wrote the song. Or for someone, most people don't really know who Richard Manuel is, so most people my age don't. So it was cool that he played it live. Anyways, Goodnight LA is also a really good song, and it shows that Adam Duritz can still retain the poetry from previous albums. There's a lot of poetry in this band. Miami has some cool instrumentals, I guess. Of course, we got the Big Yellow Taxi cover of Joni Mitchell with Vanessa Carlton. To me, this is a really catchy song, and I like the way they did the cover. But it's such a contrast from what came before that it makes sense that fans would be divided. It's like going from singing about alienation or impossible grief to suddenly singing about, I don't know, like things like a pool party or how fast your car can drive or like a ray of sunshine. Maybe the lyrics are still sad, but the melodies are definitely not sad. Like I said before, it does sound like they had a lot of fun making this record, and I appreciate that and respect it if they truly needed a change of pace on the kind of music they were making. Once again, I really like Richard Manuel, that tribute song, and maybe even the first title track, Hard Candy, and Big Yellow Taxi. Everything else for me is kind of like enjoyment, like good rating for me, but not anything life-changing or extraordinary. Up to this point, it's been consistently life-changingly great, so just a good, in my book, in my opinion, is a kind of a drop in quality, even if a lot of the songs are pretty enjoyable. I'm putting this in B tier, despite there being some pretty good songs in here. To consider it like a high B tier though, if this was a ranking with no letters, which often tends to confuse people with this lettering system, right now it would be right behind This Desert Life. But yeah, I did enjoy it. It just, I felt a little like smooth to me, like they're trying to fit in this genre, fit in this like label of what they should do now. And maybe I'm overthinking it because there are a lot of good songs on it, but to me, I just didn't enjoy it as much. Saturday Nights and Sunday Mornings is one of those half and half concept albums where the LP is split in half. In my mind, it's not really unlike Neil Young's Rust, where half the album is acoustic and the other half is live rock shows with Crazy Horse. Here we've got half and half of it. Half of this is rock and the second is more country influenced. Arguably Neil Young did it a lot better. Now, what I definitely don't enjoy this as much as anything else I've talked to up to this point. A lot of it I didn't really warrant that strong attention span for me, but I hesitate to call it bad or a failure. His voice is still amazing, and songs like When I Dream of Michelangelo are just pretty. Now, some of the rock songs almost seem too rock heavy, like Cowboy or Los Angeles. Again, not even bad songs, just not great songs either. It's like they're trying too hard to fit the genre and like put half of the rock content as rock in the first half, which I almost would have liked it better if both the country or an acoustic was mixed with the rock throughout. I know that would defeat the purpose of the concept album, having it being half and half, but I guess if it's just a concept album, then I'm not sure it really reached its full potential, you know? I feel like some of these songs could have used more time in the oven, and I feel like at best there's something that I've heard before in other different bands or somewhere else. I've heard this before. Nothing that inspiring or life-changing. It's kind of like the first half is like heavy-duty rock and roll, and then abruptly it is soft and slow, and that would be okay if the music, like I said, had a little bit more time in the oven. The opening song, 1492, could have been a cool historical commentary on moral decline in the present day, but also talking about Columbus, yet it just comes off like he's trying to be the Foo Fighters when he's not, and the message about identity and morals if there was supposed to be one, it's just kind of lost behind the loud drums. On a Tuesday in Amsterdam long ago, and the second half could easily be a great song, but it's just him at the piano. Like, I want some guitar, even if it's supposed to be a slow, emotional solo song. It's more of like a demo presented as a fully finished song, and I don't like that. His voice is still great, but it's not enough to carry a song like that, I feel like. So what I'm saying is that the heavy rock songs are too heavy and in your face, and the acoustic slow songs are too slow, and because of the track list is such a way that these songs are grouped together, it just becomes super lackluster and not as interesting an experience of listening. It's like Counting Crows are trying to be something that they're not in either category of music, and I appreciate experimentation, don't get me wrong. I said this with the Bob Dylan tier list, Under the Red Sky or Christmas in the Heart. Experimentation in music is good, but only to a point. It's still got to be of quality when you experiment, and there's good things to appreciate, like the singing is great, but I don't know. I like this when I listened to it the first time. I had it on in the background, to be honest. I was just zoning out. Upon further inspection, it feels a little lazy. Upon looking it over, it's definitely my least favorite album of the band. I'm putting this in the lowest tier, which is labeled by Along December's na 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 na. Okay, you get it, but that's like the lowest tier, and whoever made this online format. But yeah. Underwater Sunshine, or What We Did on Our Summer Vacation from 2012. So Counting Crows leaves their record company and becomes independent recording artists. They decided to do this album full of covers. It's pretty simple and clear cut that the reason why people don't like this album is that it's not original content. Well, yes, it's not as good as some of their other stuff. I think there's stuff to be appreciated in these cover songs. It's penned as a discography filler, but I see it as Adam Zuritz's natural career progression and a way of paying homage to the influences that made him who he is. When I saw Bob Dylan's You Ain't Going Nowhere on the Spotify track and I listened to it, it was pretty cool. The other song that I recognized was Ooh La La, and I have to say the version of Ooh La La it's superb, it's got amazing vocals, it's soulful, it's happy. People don't really like this because it's all covers, and I see their point. But yes, a band this successful doing purely covers at this point in their career may seem odd, but also I don't really see their point because you may look at these arrangements and how delicate with love they are created, when I just feel like it's lacking appreciation a little bit. I'm always going to relate this back to Bob Dylan, but look at As Good As I've Been to You or World Gone Wrong in his case. Amazing cover albums that put a whole new spin on traditional songs. Likewise, this is Counting Crows singing songs that are important to them, and I don't see anything wrong with that. It is still enjoyable even if it's just not original. I don't really have much to say about Underwater Sunshine other than that, yeah, it's not as good as the other albums, but I wouldn't really put it in the lowest tier because it's not a failed concept album, it's an intentional homage. I would put that in C tier. Somewhere Under Wonderland from 2014, after the cover album of Underwater Sunshine and some live albums as the independent recording artist, we get their first actual original material in like 6 years. It's not as emotionally depressing as all the 90s stuff, and it sounds more fun actually. And I have to say, this album surprised me of how good it was. I was like, wow, I thought they were falling off, and then I listened through the discography, and then there's like this explosion of creativity, The thing about this band is even the songs you don't hear on the radio, like these ones, the non-popular ones, are still really good. And like we're covering the Satellites, this one is one I'm gonna have to keep listening to because it's really, really good. Somewhere Under Wonderland is definitely not my favorite, but it just feels so vibrant. And it's so happy that it almost contrasts some of the 90s work very strongly, as if that was a time in Duritz's life where he felt uncertain, but now this feels certain. It's not as complex, but it's got cool jams and it's generally pretty fun. Dislocation, Earthquake Driver, they've got it's not anything crazy, but I feel like the band really found its footing again. Elvis Went to Hollywood is good. Once again, he's singing about aliens on motorcycles, so like it's not the most emotionally gripping stuff, but I don't think all music needs to be. If you confine the band to be just a box of only playing lonely, vulnerable, round here type music, then you're missing out on whatever else this band has to offer. John's Appleseed's Lament is great as a song. He sings the most depressing lyrics, like for instance, it feels like you're just falling when you're going down, but everyone loves you when you hit the ground. And then he just bursts into like a guitar jam while singing all happy. Same thing on 2002's Hard Candy. It's like super sad lyrics sometimes, but he sings them super happy, so it's kind of like what? But then it turns into a giant rock crescendo and it's actually phenomenal. It ends with Possibility Days, which is actually an incredibly sad song. The worst part of a good day is knowing it's slipping away. That's one more possibility day that is gone. And then the album and that song really ends with these lyrics. So you pull down the shades and you shut off the lights because somehow we mixed up goodbye and good night. And what the one you won't say is everyone knows possibility days are impossible. It just feels wrong, so wrong. Still you're gone, long gone. Like, what? The poetry here is insane. The album isn't my favorite, but I'm sure most people don't really know about it, which is a shame because it's really good. I'm putting this in B tier above Hard Candy. Hard Candy's good. It just feels more commercial friendly, whereas Somewhere Under Wonderland like allows the singer to really just do what he wants to do without trying to fit into like a pop rock genre or like a radio friendly kind of thing. It just feels more fulfilling here and more artistically like fulfilled, you know. Now we come to Butter Miracle, the complete suites from 2025. So there's like almost a decade and gap between writing. Actually, not entirely, because he wrote the first half of this as an extended play release. The last 4 songs in the album were released in 2021 as part of a suite. And Adam Duritz wrote those in lockdown, basically. So he was just like in lockdown and he wrote those songs. And then 4 years later, we get the second half of the album, the 5 more tracks, as Adam Duritz wanted to be sure that the songwriting was good enough. And yes, in 2025, the Counting Crows still have it. This album is really good. Elevator Boots, wow. Angel, 14th Street, he's got it. Spaceman in Tulsa is a song that's probably the most radio friendly. I felt like it was made for the radio, which is odd because it feels like they're swearing in the chorus. Yes, he swears now in these songs. It's the first time, I guess. Like when Coldplay swore for the first time, I was like, what? They're doing that? It's funny, you know. When I first heard Spaceman in Tulsa, I thought it felt a little artificial, like they were trying too hard. I don't really think that now, especially after hearing it live. Under the Aurora, I feel is arguably less popular, but it's arguably better. Then Spaceman in Tulsa, I'm just glad Adam Duritz was able to take his time with the production of this because it really paid off. With Love from A to Z is great. Once again, this album has had the least amount of time to sink in to my brain, as it just came out and I listened to it last in terms of all of these, so I have less thoughts on it naturally. I don't really see it as bad though. I put this behind Desert Life and A tier. I think it still proves that they've got it after over 30 years. It's somewhere in the middle of my rankings. It's not my favorite. It's also really good though. There's not really a dull moment in it, and it's really good. His singing at 60 also hasn't waned either, which is impressive. The moment you've all been waiting for, I'll be talking about the actual concert where I saw the Counting Crows perform live. They open with Spaceman in Tulsa. You hear the and he's just singing his new song. He's having fun. Like, he's like kind of getting up there in terms of age. He's like not, but his heyday was in the 90s, basically is what I'm saying. He's not terribly old, but basically he had a couple, like, I think he left in the middle of the show to like, it was either pee or catch his breath. I don't know which one it was. I just know that he did that, and it didn't take away from the show at all. They were just playing like the instrumental of Friend of the Devil, the Grateful Dead song. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna play that, because I know they do cover that song. And then they didn't. He just came back. But like, I didn't mind it. I don't care if he needs to take a breath off stage, because it is a lot performing. I don't mind. He made like a good mix of like his old songs, deep cuts, and the new songs. I'm playing like Mr. Jones, the third song. Everyone went crazy. And the first time I heard him sing Mr. Jones, because I took a video of it, I'm gonna show it up. He also played like Goodnight Elizabeth, like I said. Some of the people like really like the deep cuts like that. It's just kind of a slower song, but like by the end it pays off because it's like really good at the end. When he plays Round Here in Omaha, everything from August and everything after, everyone's gonna go crazy about. Honestly, my favorite performance was Along December. So basically he started playing, I'm looking at the set list now, and I didn't know what song he was playing. He was playing a Taylor Swift cover. I don't really know what the song is. It's called The One. If you like Taylor Swift, tell me what that is. But basically, it was a piano song. So they brought out the piano for 2 songs, and he started hitting the top of the piano like this. And then and then he transitioned from the Taylor Swift song into A Long December, and then when he was hitting the top of the piano, and then suddenly you hear the, I'm gonna play it right there. So you can, because I got it on video, but it was just amazing. Like, oh my god, it was so cool. And then at the end of the show, it really came together. I would say like the middle of the show when he played like Miami or Colorblind, people are like, what is going on? Or like, that's how I kind of felt. Like, I feel like when you have such a, I don't know how long the set was. I don't think it was 2 hours. Maybe it was 2 hours. I don't know. Warm-up band, Gaslight Anthem. I like them. Once again, the warm-up band, I wasn't really potentially paying attention to them. I was like getting pretzels and stuff. But I enjoyed them. And I'm glad that they chose them to go along with the Counting Crows. Anyways, I think they did a good mix of their old, like I said, their old music and new music and some of the deep cuts. And then they played the Aurora as an encore after Rain King. And after he did Rain King, like he went like this, and the lighting person put like little specks, made it look like rain on his hand at the end of Rain King. I thought that was really nice. Hanging Around was nice. With Love from A to Z, he said was his best song he's ever written, which is off the new album. I disagree with that. I don't think it's his best he's ever written. But if it has emotional attachment to him, then, I'm all for it. He did the Richard Manuel song, too. That was great. I was like, oh my god, he's playing this one. I didn't think he would play that. I think he has them in rotation of what he's going to play for some of the deep cuts, like in terms of like switching up set lists, which I appreciate. He ended it with Holiday in Spain, and I'm pretty sure everyone was like leaving at that point. Like leaving the show, and maybe they had heard what they wanted to hear, and they just came there for the hits. I enjoyed the entire show. Some shows are like this, but I enjoyed it more thinking about it afterwards. I was like, yeah, that was a good show. Then like I actually was like when I was in the moment, I was like, it was almost like you can't believe it's happening. Like you're really seeing. I mean, to be fair, I was pretty far away. I wasn't terribly far away, but I was far away enough where it wasn't like a in my face experience. But it was like I enjoyed it. It definitely, if they're in your area, you got to see them. Also, Adam Duritz doesn't like play any instruments on stage. He just sings. So your voice has to be really good for you to like stand out as a singing artist. And I think he does that. I think he fulfills that. He, like I said, he is getting up there in age, but I think he can still hold the rock star mantle, at least for now. Like he doesn't have anyone helping him or babying him along. He's got it in terms of like his skill and his ability to perform on stage. He has a very strong stage presence. He didn't really talk too much. When he did talk, it was funny though, or like he had some specific song intros that he was talking about. Like he would be like, "Yeah, my friend Charlie did this," and then he'd burst into like I think Omaha or something like that. Once again, my favorite performance was A Long December. That's like probably my favorite song by them. My brother's favorite song is Round Here. So to me that's a good song too, but it can't beat like the dreary like A Long December from Recovering the Satellites, because it's just like it's sad, it's happy, it's like bittersweet, it's just like everything in between, and it's a really amazing song. They came here to hear them play Mr. Jones. That's the one that's on the radio, even though it was released in like 30 years ago. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. I think it was an amazing show. I've seen the Wallflowers too. I have a video of that on my channel. I'll put it in the description. I would say this is better than the Wallflowers. No diss to the Wallflowers. I just think that the Counting Crows are a better band. Maybe that's because I've listened to more of their work, and I've only listened to two of the Wallflowers albums. These are both bands that came out around the same time. I just think they're more versatile. His voice is amazing. Their poetry is really good. But yeah, anyways, that's my Counting Crows review. I reviewed the show. It was amazing. That's my thoughts on it. I guess I'm not gonna rate it out of 10 because I don't think that thing's a bit redundant. But you saw my ranking of the album, so if you haven't heard the Counting Crows, go give them a listen. They're a good band. All right, make sure to like, subscribe, comment below.